Life is as it is. Everything works out for a reason.
This is true. This is
Love the
true.
lion. Love the 2 comma club or more, whichever that one is.
2 comma.
Love the branding. Whew. I'm looking at your website right now.
Thanks, man.
My goodness. So yeah, how did we get connected?
Through oh geez, what is the podcasting website
Probably
for guests?
Matchmaker, Podbooker,
Matchmaker. Yep,
or
matchmaker.fm.
Okay, awesome. Well, it does work out then. On occasion, we get some great ones. So
yeah, it's
I'm just kidding. We've had great people come in, but
it's challenging to truly find, like, you look at it like this is going to be a gold mine of being able to connect with people, and then you get in there and it's 70% of the people don't even respond, and then 20% is just like, yeah, I wish you didn't respond, and then the last 10% are good. It's it takes
I spent years on that. I started with Podbooker back in the day. I don't know, 2016, wasted a bunch of time. Got a couple interviews, but I wasted a bunch of time looking back on productivity and what Jackson should be doing with his time, right?
Yeah.
That was the reality. I then became CEO of Podbooker for, it's basically a melted down version of Matchmaker. I did say that. And I was CEO for all of 2 months with no active powers. Different story. But now I have an assistant who does it all. I don't touch it. I don't look at it. So it's super helpful, but I'm constantly looking at, okay, where are the best quality of guests coming from? And Matchmaker does hit pretty well. Have you used Podmatch? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. I haven't used it yet. It was one of those things. So Michelle, my assistant, also goes through to kind of book all the stuff. And I was like, let's exhaust Matchmaker. Not that we'll take everything down after we're done, but let's exhaust that.
Right.
And then we'll move over to Podmatch, as well as
I'll let you know how it goes. I'm behind. I'm embarrassed to be behind on it because the founder, Alex Sanfilippo, has become a good friend. And I've never used it. And you have to set up your profile and stuff. Angela's been pushing me to it, but you know how it goes. You got lots of priorities.
Oh yeah.
This is just one. But yeah, every chance I have, Facebook groups are real. It's part of it is the training of the assistant too, right? Making sure they're empowered with what we want. But anyway, we'll stop geeking out on that. What we're going to do, we're going to record a couple of pre-show segments, behind the scenes footage. We'll use those to promote the show. You already qualify. If you like this experience, then we're going to be moving forward to the official show. That has to do with the lack of ego you came in with, the leadership skills you came in with, not your fancy brand. Fancy brand's a plus, but the leadership is what we're looking for. We're looking for people, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, great vision, great leader. I'm on my stage. You don't need all the fancy jets and sunglasses to do this. Do you have any questions for me before I dive into the questions?
No, let's go ahead and jump on in.
All right, let me do one thing let's see here. And you consider yourself, what's your favorite title related to your role with Metric Mentor Labs? And is that the brand you want this underneath your name?
I would honestly, I represent a couple of pieces, but I've gone through life where titles mean too much, and it's the responsibility and the outcome that you're trying to create. So my honest title that I tell people these days is I'm just Steve.
I'm just Steve. I like that, man. That's cool. Yeah, I'm with you too. I like what Richard Branson's up to. And LeBron. Yep. They told him to shut up and dribble, but my quote is, you can have your cake, you can eat it too, and you can have a conveyor belt of cakes.
Exactly.
That was inspired by Richard Branson, of course. I was like, wait a second. Stop telling me to do one thing, guys. No way.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Then we will dive in. You said you represent a couple of different brands, though, right?
Yeah. So realistically, today, for me, it's face forward of me being me, right? So as a consultant through my business of Metric Mentor Labs, I also get to work with a company, Mind Pump Media, podcasting company. and help them growing some of the pieces of their business. So I go out as just being Steve as much as I can into the world. And it's, you come find me, and depending upon who you are and what you need, then we kind of go down that road from there. But ultimately, I help people grow their businesses, whether it be in fitness, health, things like that, or other business niches and whatnot there.
I love that. So we've got Steve Kopshaw here today, who loves to go by just Steve. And that's his title. I absolutely love that. We're going to pull something up here, Google, because when we Google Steve Kopshaw, you know, this kind of draws that essence more. There's multiple businesses, multiple brands, multiple visions with what you're doing. So coming back to focusing on you, Steve, tell us about your vision.
You know, my vision is honestly to empower the visionaries that we have in this world. And I'll put the asterisk on there that they're selling or doing or providing a quality product or service that is good for the world. It's really about helping them potentially start, definitely grow, and maybe scale whatever it is that their dream is. A lot of people go out there and they're not really sure what that might look like. They just have a passion for something. I came into business being a personal trainer, starting a personal training business, and it was built on passion, and it worked. But like the moment there was growth and scale, it didn't work anymore, and I had to learn business and leadership and marketing and operations and just all of these other skills that life doesn't really teach you. And I want to speed that up for everybody else. I loved all my businesses and my brick and mortars and that service business, but accidentally stumbled upon solving a problem for a couple of franchisees in a franchise system. People were like, Steve, you literally changed my life and made it so that way I'm not afraid to invest my life savings or my house. And now I want to go do this. And it was that just throwing into consulting, I'll call it coaching, if you will, that really I fell in love with opening that opportunity for other people and going along and ride with them. So in a nutshell, I want to help people with a vision really start, scale, grow that vision.
I love that. I mean, obviously, our podcast is all about vision. So we're already got the bromance going.
I'm sitting here going like, I'm totally using the word vision way too much, but it is my, like, I use the word a lot. So it's not scripted, but I'm like, man, I just feel like, yeah, vision. They brought this guy on to say vision 40 times.
Right. And it's the foundation for us. So that's awesome. So 17 health and wellness locations, as part of that track record of what you've done, centered. I love the asterisk that you bring up too. There are good visions and there are bad visions. And we're all susceptible to having both. Sometimes, man, I'm not going to say something. Ice cream usually outwins with exercise for my vision. I could do much more with my life if I focused more on the exercise one. So we all have it. There's those who choose to focus on negative ones. You choose to help those who are making a massive difference for others in the world. Let's go to the next question. So Steve, what's your why? We know how it got started, but what's the why behind all of this? And there might be many, but focusing on some of those deeper ones.
Yeah, I would say it's funny. I hear a lot of gurus and coaches say certain things, and it's like, it just rubs me the wrong way, kind of. So I'm going to go against the grain. And I had a lot of ups and downs in my first 9-10 years of owning businesses as an adult. Right. Yeah. And my first year, it was just easy. Like, it just happened. And then the moment I got my second business all the way to the 17th, like, it was ups and downs, and I learned a lot of lessons. Yeah. And I feel like everybody goes out there with, I'm predicting, I don't make mistakes, and here's how I created all this massive success. And I didn't have a really cool framework or tagline or thing until I slowed down and really looked back. And when somebody asked me, why are you running into these struggles? I didn't have the answer. And the answer that I kind of gave was, well, it's that reason, it's those reasons, it's one of those things over there. And never once did I point the finger at myself. It was always things external to me. Yeah. And it was a big growing moment. It hurt a lot, but it was a really big growing moment. And I really slowed down for a minute to really look back, the pluses, the negatives, what things did I do, whether it was intentional or not, because a lot of them weren't, they just happened on accident, to help ultimately save me and get me out of like, this thing's not going to work. And through that, really looking back, it is what today is the Freedom Framework. And we have this big dream in America, in the world, where everybody is free and they have freedom. But I don't think anybody really thinks about it other than my day to day. I get to kind of do what I want to do. But I mean, man, if you want to not have to work to earn money at 45 years old, why aren't you working towards that? And who here is going to empower somebody to do that? I'm not saying quit your 9 to 5, quit your job, but maybe get a side hustle and go make an extra $2,000 a month, simple and easy. But then there's that person that's not simple and easy. That's a lot. And it in the nicest way possible. It is simple and easy if you just go do it. But we weren't taught that. We weren't given those skills through life, through school, through college, if you went through whatever. So the Freedom Framework just was really, hey, what did I intentionally or accidentally do over the past 10 years to get me here? And putting those into steps where we can really break down the 3 big things, which is figure out what you need to work on, learn about how you can solve the problem, and go do it. Like,
Right.
Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's get it done. And that Freedom Framework is really about making sure those big things can happen.
Awesome. I'm going to go against the grain a little bit too, because I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker as a podcaster or a yes man. I love so much of what you said, and I'm going to add some spice to it as well. So one of the things that I love that you talked about was the why of realizing you're pointing at external factors, realizing 3 fingers are pointing back at you, right? There's things internally that we got to do. 2, earlier, you talked about learning and you said, it was in the other clip, you said that life doesn't always teach us, these aspects, these are the dynamics as we go. I would add an asterisk and say, life doesn't always teach us how we want life to teach us. But it does teach us. Just sometimes it comes with a little bit of a backhand or a kick in the butt, or a dang it, man, I've been screwing this up for far too long. And we look again at life or mom or dad and say, well, it's their fault. They didn't teach me. No, that's life. That's part of the process. Then going towards the simplification and the overcomplication. I'm going to overcomplicate that on purpose. I do agree there are aspects of life. One, simplicity is the goal. And if everybody would, that's capable, would do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 10,000 steps per day and not overeat, we'd have a pretty healthy society. That it's really that simple. There's no fad diet or custom workout plan that's required to get in shape in most circumstances. So I agree that simple is the key, but the essence of life and business is like a 300 recipe cookbook of simple recipes. The challenge, the dynamic complexity of that is much like a restaurant. You have to cook the right food at the right time, at the right temperature for the right people, deliver it with the right attitude, and therein get the right ingredients, have the right supplies, therein pull a lot of complex realities together, depending probably on the complex nature of your own life. You have 1 child, life feels hard. You have 4 children, oh my, that was much harder. You have 2 divorces and 2 ex-wives to try to keep happy. And in addition to trying to make time for all children that you have, the complexities of life can create a further need for freedom frameworks. And I will end on that. That's the harmony of this reality to me, is you've built something incredible based on true principles that are very, very helpful to, help people figure out, well, how did you do your path? You're open and honest about the fact that it's not easy, that you've been through ups and downs in the process. And you reminded me with that background poster of the Lion King. And I was thinking, it's funny. We assume that all lions with a scar are evil now. Right. And that all lions who are great are then therefore perfect and perfect looking, like Mustafa and Simba. But in reality, we all go through and get our battle scars in the process. The scar does not make somebody evil. The actions do. Do you have further thoughts on that before we wrap this part up?
Yeah, no, I don't think that there's anything else to add. It's just at the end of the day, life, business, learning, all those pieces are not linear. If it is, I feel sorry for that
Mm,
person. Maybe I'll go out there and
I do
say
too.
that.
I will too.
Um,
I'll double
yeah.
down with you.
So you saw the I'm gonna rub somebody wrong there,
Yep.
but like there's a lot of learning to happen through those trials and tribulations, and
Absolutely.
they are what make us who we are today and give us the story to be able to tell. And I kick off any speech I get in front of a room with 10 minutes of here's all the things that I sucked at, and here's probably the things that I still suck at a little bit. But because I solved a lot of these things, that's why I get to share them with you. And I just want to make sure you don't have to endure the same pieces. So
Oh, that's huge, man. And shout out to John Whaley, who came on the show several months ago, and he called the silver lining his silver road. And I was like, ooh,
I like
that's
that.
that's powerful. Oh, like there's so much more truth and not pretending that it's just a time. No, no, no. That's his silver road that created the success. And so well done on living that, exuding that, pushing that forward. It's an opportunity, I think, for those who may have an easier life to look at, well, not how can I complicate my life and make my life awful, make bad decisions, but is there more to what I can do? I found that leaving the country and living in a third world country for 2 years.
Yeah,
That's where I figured out that, oh man, there's a whole lot more I can do with my life if I choose to do so. All right. So we'll
absolutely.
move on to two other clips real quick. Um, and then we'll be done with the clips. Position. All right. So obviously a leading question. Feel free to shoot down the question. I'm going to combine these two. Why do leaders hide from funding their visions? And based on your experience, how can leaders lean into funding the vision?
Yeah, I like that actually as a combination, because I think that I'll probably talk about the slice right down the middle, but it ultimately really leans into the idea of certainty. If you are uncertain about something, usually your plan and the ability to execute and create the outcome, you're probably less likely to fund it. And I'll take funding in a monetary, but also a time commitment and a taking away from other things in life mentality there.
That's right.
Uh, but if you're certain and you absolutely believe it in a steadfast fashion, and there's almost no way you can fail, then it's just a simple math equation that's a no brainer to spend the time, take away from family, put the money in, put the risk in. And a lot of times we go through this, you have to have a business plan, and a business plan on paper in Excel. Like, I get it and I understand. And at some point in time, in order for somebody to support you, give you money, whatever it is, that is, I don't want to say
Helpful.
important because I disagree with
Helpful.
that. Helpful, relevant,
Can be.
can be. But those things, oddly enough, don't give you the confidence to go execute and create the outcome. So if you're going to go do
Let's
something,
look
the
at
question,
the outcome. You're on it. You're crushing it right now. Don't lose your train of thought, please. But to put at home, to just crush the home run of what you just said, business plans have led over the last 50 years 90%, 96% of businesses to fail within 10 years
Mhm.
and 4% to only survive.
Yeah.
So that's the value of a business plan, in my opinion. Go ahead.
No, and you're 100% right. That's the biggest issue, that they're not they're this idea that here's the minimum viable effort and input to make this thing work. And if we started to look at life differently and we looked at, hey, I have this goal. You mentioned we'd all be healthier if we just did these couple of things every day, survival of businesses, whatever it might be. The question I would ask you is, how do you stack the odds so far in your favor that you have no option but to win? And it's one of those things where I'm going to go do my 100 sit-ups and my 100 push-ups and walk 10,000 steps, and I'm going to be like, cool, how do you do 200 of each and go walk 20,000 steps?
Yeah.
And listen, if you miss and you mess up and you got 16,000 steps and 150 and 125, like, that's not bad. Or in business, hey, I need to talk to 10 new people a day so I can go and grow my business. Amazing. Go talk to 20. So how do we stack it so far in favor of winning that losing is literally not possible, or it's such an impossibility that it should be negligible and doesn't matter?
You just gave me a massive gift, Steve, and I appreciate that, whether you're just Steve or not. That was huge because it ties one of my favorite principles to one of my greatest weaknesses, which is that health of exercise, right? That side of the health equation. But I'm a huge fan. I had a mission president who taught us that if we want above average results, we have to be willing to do above average things. And as we move towards doing those above average things, like you're talking about, as we apply that to different elements of our life, then you don't have to worry about being a statistic. You're defying the statistic. You also mentioned speed of certainty, or rather certainty itself. I'm a huge believer in the speed of certainty, and that has helped me tremendously in my life as well. And yeah, that was a dynamically powerful answer for all those listening in. Funding, it is kind of a trick word. It is not just, actually, it's an oversimplification. We're talking money, time, etc., diligence. What are you going to do to make your visions come to a reality? And is it worth it to do so? You know that in your heart and your mind. You're the visionary who's supposed to determine that. That's not for Steve and I to determine. So, Steve, this was excellent. Thanks for dropping so much wisdom with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. So those segments are wrapped up and done. They'll get utilized to promote the show. I'm going to speed through the next 6 minutes as best I can to keep our time frame. So a couple of things. I got to get this open. What happened? All right, that's there. So you're about to get a couple emails from me. This first one is the link to book our live episode.
Okay.
Do you want me to introduce you to other podcasters? Meaning send you a link for your assistant to book you on podcasts that I've enjoyed?
If, yeah, I would love that.
Okay. So this email right here, it's going to send you 3 to 5 podcasters per week, all their applications for 4 to 5 weeks. And I think I run out after that.
Okay.
And I'll trigger another email. I'll tell you why in just a minute. Let's go back over here. Whole purpose of the show is to help people talk about vision as much as you do. Inspire them to realize it matters so much. And I'm a big fan of the quote, people don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. And didn't realize when I started this how well those two concepts went together. I see it now. The podcasting is like a trade show stage. There's a lot of expos going on every day. And so the goal is to create an audience together. And like those awkward trade shows where, you see the guy speaking and there's almost nobody in the room. And you're like, man, the event center didn't do a great job of promoting that. Well, neither did the guy who ended up with no audience. If you're not Michael Jordan, it's hard to fill a room. Even for him, they go through extreme means to make sure that they don't ever miss out on him having a standing ovation. So we're going to do everything we can on our end to support you and promote you without the MJ status. And those clips will help us do that. The other opportunity with that, I'm going to give you a number of steps that you can do to make sure that we do that well together. They're pretty simple, things like subscribing to YouTube. We will, excuse me.
Yeah, you're good.
I have water right here. All right. So when it comes to announcing the episode, we'll use the teaser clips. If you have a sizzle reel, then please send it to my team. If you that's a great one. If you have a lead magnet that you feel is valuable to the audience, if you have a $2,500 offer that you feel the audience is going to value, send us everything. And I have your assistant send us those aspects. Now, I will say, if you send us a sizzle reel and it's one of the worst infomercials I've ever seen, we will give you feedback. Is that fair?
That's 100% fair.
And if you send me an offer, I did have a guest live on our live show decided to pitch me. What he didn't know is we had done our research. I bought an $1,800 system from him live on the show. Made sense. If I had asked him buyer's questions and he fell apart, and
I won't be pitching you. I promise.
I'm just
today.
Yeah.
There's no my only only get in today's world right now for the next year and a half is attention and connection. So you can't even try to buy something from me
Cool.
simply because I'm not there. I'm not interested in that right now.
Jab, 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 right hook. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Cool. So that said, whatever you do, whatever comes up, even if it's free,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask authentic questions always. So we'll go live on StreamYard. Every single question becomes its own mini episode. So we'll record about 15 episodes total.
Okay.
And it's a 1 hour show. The best performing shows will get remixed into highlights. We'll run Facebook ads for top performers based on metrics or based on like, oh man, it's Alex Ramosi. It's Steve. We might do this for you. I don't know. I got to look up your stats a little bit. The newsletter is at that embarrassing stage where we have to admit we have one, but it's got like 20 subscribers. So don't get too excited.
Okay.
The Facebook group, we do have a quiet Facebook group. It's a little black book of business for me of all the great people we've talked to. And I already did the episode introductions. Take that or leave that however you want. Apply for whichever show aligns with you. To promote us, we go to great lengths to make sure that you love your landing page, meaning we want your feedback on it. If you are embarrassed by the landing page for some reason, or you think the landing page could use adjustments, hit us hard. Let us go to work on that and make it awesome. We want you to be proud of it. You can connect 2 channels to StreamYard. You probably already know that. When you share the episode, if you share it via email or an other form, we give you 100% copyright access. You can change anything you want to about it. This is your vision, not mine. You can remove my logo if it makes sense. If there's a segment you're like, man, this would be perfect in my sizzle reel, use it, man. Like don't hesitate. Reviewing us on Apple, Spotify, subscribers on YouTube, all honesty, of course, that's helpful. And a Facebook ad strategy. You received the last email from me. It's about providing $100 so we can boost our traffic via the Facebook ad. Please watch the video. In the video, I tell you not to do it. And in the video, I tell you why not to do it and who that's for. That's for companies that want to consider us as a team to help them scale their infrastructure out and build the right way. But it's also to create awareness around a means of growth that is so downplayed because nobody has a budget to afford advertising, that rather than admitting that, business owners just crap on it because they don't want to look bad and say, I don't have the budget to advertise.
Yep.
Advertising's incredibly valuable. So anyway, there's that video for that.
Okay.
And lastly, referrals, man, that's a big thing. Oh, I skipped one. If you're speaking on stage, preferably somewhere like Hawaii or the Bahamas, and you want to fly me out on your dime, I would be happy to speak on stage with you. So
Fair.
With all that said, referral is the best thing. People you've helped move to the next level and they're rocking the stage, wanting attention. It's a great place for them to come if they would value our stage. If you know Patrick Mahomes or Bill Gates or somebody like that too, they're also awesome to have on the stage if they value the stage. But any service providers you have that have helped you get to where you are, obviously, they would be great for our stage as well. Thank you for the extra minute. Any questions?
No, that's everything. Can you send me that deck just so I have that? I can get it to Michelle to make sure I check off all the boxes that I can for you.
In the private chat, do you see that document?
Got it.
And that's the simplified version.
Sweet.
The freedom framework, if you will. And then the other thing. What was it? Dang it. Oh, the questions. You're going to get the questions in advance for the real show. That's very important because I ask very hard questions like, what's the worst leadership experience you've ever had? I'd meditate on that personally before I try to wing it. So you'll see all the questions. You'll know why. You want to think about those, and then we'll crush it.
Beautiful. Sounds good, man.
Great to meet you, Steve.
You too. Have a fantastic day.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
Thanks, dude.